Chris Lynch, fighting for Canterbury. Weekdays from 8:30 on News Talk ZB.
News Talk ZB, Canterbury Mornings with Chris Lynch. Thank you for staying with us. Well, two Christchurch sisters who were sexually abused as children are trying to raise $30,000 to take their battle to unmask their attacker to the Court of Appeal. Their abuser was convicted for indecent assault in 1995 for sexually abusing the woman in the 70s. In August, a district court judge lifted name suppression for Anne-Marie Forsyth and Karen Beaumont, but a legal clause prevented him from doing so for their abuser. This seems completely wrong. This seems unjust. And Anne-Marie Forsyth is on the phone and joins me now. Good morning.
Good morning, Chris.
I appreciate your time this morning, and thank you for being with us here at News Talk ZB. You must have been completely blindsided and blown away by the decision which allows you and your sister's name to be revealed, but not that of the accuser. How can this happen?
Exactly. How can it happen? And we were under the impression all for the last 20 years that our names were suppressed as victims, but his wasn't suppressed. So it came as a bit of a surprise a couple of years ago when we found out that he was using our name suppression to stay hidden, which meant that he's potentially had another 20 years where nobody has known what he's been convicted of, and he's been able to go about his business, and nobody is aware of what he's done in the past and what he's been convicted of in the past.
Some people would suggest that he abused you in the 1970s. He deserves a second chance to have his identity remained if he has changed his life around. What do you say to those people, Anne-Marie?
Has he changed his life around? That's the question. If you still continue to deny that you did anything wrong, something that you've been convicted of by a jury of 12 peers and a judge and sentenced for, but you still deny you did anything wrong, then has he turned his life around? And to me, if somebody's turned their life around, they confront what they've done, they deal with it, and they move on, and they make sure that they take care that they never place themselves in their position again, that they could be accused of it or could be tempted to do it again. So my question is, how do you know that he has turned his life around? Because he's been hidden for 20 years, 40 years in total, but 20 years since the court case.
Do you believe he's changed his life around?
No, I don't.
Because he continues to deny the charges.
Yep, he continues. He calls them allegations. He applied to the human rights in this particular case. He was so convinced, whether he's convinced himself, I don't know, but he wanted $300,000 for having his rights breached. No, that tells me he hasn't turned his life around. There's no way on this planet that somebody's going to make $300,000 because they abused me when I was a child.
You've had to keep silent yourself and your sister for so long, and you have decided to go public. Why is that?
It's as most survivors, and many survivors are listening, you spend your life in the background. You stay off the radar. You stay out of, you don't draw attention to yourself. And that's how you keep yourself safe for all these years. You just stay under the radar. If I'm not prepared to stand up for what I believe is right, and if I'm not prepared as a victim to stand up for our children, then who is? We've lived the life. I don't want any other children to live this life. I don't want other people to have to grow up like we have. And if we're not prepared as victims to do it, then how can we ask or expect other people to do it for us?
You told the Christchurch Star, we want offenders to know that people they hurt do grow up and we will come back to haunt them.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that, Anne-Marie?
They won't keep, we won't stay silent forever. we won't stay in the background forever. What they do will catch up with them. It's like any convicted criminal or any criminal. Eventually, it will catch up with them. And, sometimes it takes a life event that makes us break our silence, which is what happened in our case. But we grow up and we're no longer children, because as children, you're brought up to respect your elders. You're brought up, that what people tell you is the right thing. But when you grow up, and sometimes it takes a long time to get to that point, but we do grow up and we do say, okay, we get an opportunity to do something about it like this. I will not allow this particular person or anybody, if it's within my power, to save one more child, then I will. That this is an opportunity that, we've been given, and I can't afford, I just morally can't allow it to go past and not try and do something.
Anne-Marie, I know that your sister was abused in the hands of this man as well. In a perverse kind of way, has it made you and your sister stronger because you're equally battling to change the court system against this man? Is there a stronger bond now as a result?
No, because the way these people work, the way they manipulate you is when you're children, is they divide you and they silence you and they keep you separate. So if anything, when people offend against you like that, it isolates you. It keeps you in silence by isolating you from other people. So we're strong together as a family. We're strong, and because we believe what we're doing is morally right. We believe that every child has the right to grow up unmolested, and they have the right to have a voice as well. And as adults, we can try and help be their voice.
Anne-Marie, for anybody listening to this interview now who was sexually abused and has not come out and remains in the dark, in the silence over this, what advice would you give to them?
I think the biggest thing is that you're not alone. I've spent a long time thinking and feeling alone. But this is huge, and I don't think people realise how huge it is. I mean, New Zealand is one of the worst child sexual abuse rates in the world, and it's all by silence. That's how it's kept ongoing, is the silence. So I would encourage them to speak up. They don't have to take a court case. You don't have to go to the police. But, you'd be surprised when you start talking to people and admit what happened to you, then how many other people go, yeah, well, that happened to me. I've never spoken about it. I never told anybody. And there's people from all walks of life. There's so many different people that haven't ever done anything about it. Have never spoken to anybody, but because I am quite open, this happened. This happened. I can't change it. This happened to me. So I don't. I'm okay with talking about it. I've had a long time to deal with it. So, and people go, yeah, this happened to me too, and it's such a relief to be able to feel not so alone.
I know that you are going to publish a Give Little page next week with the aim of raising $30,000 to pay for the expense of legal fees. What I do know is this is not just personal for you and your sister, because once, or hopefully if this man's name is released, you feel you're also doing a favour for others who have been in the hands of abusers. Yeah,
exactly. There's other women's different cases, different scenarios, but at the end of the day, it's all based around the same thing about name suppression. And I firmly believe that we as victims have done nothing wrong. We don't need to hide. We're survivors and we don't need to hide. So their names, so name suppression for me is not an issue. Other people, it may be an issue, and that's okay. They may not want to have their name out there, and that's okay too. To me, there is no excuse for name suppression for the perpetrator of any crimes. If you did the crime and been convicted of the crime, then that is one of the consequences of doing that crime. So that's one of the things that they should take account of before they do it. If I get found out, this is going to happen. Everybody's going to know. so that to me is the consequences of their action.
Well, listen, I wish you and your sister Karen all the very best as your fight continues. When you do have all the details regarding that Give a Little page, do let us know here at News Talk ZB. We'll do our utmost to try and support you and your sister, and we'll fight on your behalf for justice.
That's awesome. Thank you very much, and I appreciate it, Chris. Thank you.